Hello out there in podcast land. This is Texas Desert Rose, Tammy Terrell, coming to you once again. It's been a little bit since we've done a recording and working on doing a couple this weekend. So stay tuned for one tomorrow where we're going to have some girl talk about relationships. Should be pretty interesting. And right now, Mrs. Tracey Fleniken is joining me again. You guys may remember some recordings we did, or a recording. We did one, right, Tracy?
Yes,
one
we did.
Recording.
Tammy Terrell.
Don't remember you from that. Yeah, we, talking about going to college and realizing your potential. And what was our official title? I don't even remember.
It was The Power of Not Yet.
Power of Not Yet. Yeah, it's a good one to listen to. You guys tune in, and Miss Tracy's joining me again today, and we're going to talk about why we need the arts in times of crisis. I think with the much overstated, much over-talked about pandemic for the last year and a half, even closer to 2 years, is really... I think I had read that domestic violence, child abuse, suicides are higher than they've ever been. Certainly, I work on a military base. They certainly are across the branches, both overseas and in the States. It doesn't bode well with all the struggle that we've had to endure, and a lot of the resilience is really waning. So I love that we're talking about this today, Tracy. At no greater time, when the movie theaters close, do we need the movies? Do we need the music? Do we need the theater, etc.? So thank you for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I know it's I've always been a proponent for the arts. I'm an art junkie. Poetry, music, theater.
You are.
Broadway, movies, TV shows.
You quote it all. You really do.
Yeah, my brain is pretty much a pop-up video. I have random, even commercial jingles that come back from the 70s and 80s, rotating through the playlist in my head.
Love that.
But yeah, it's really, I think people maybe even pre-pandemic, and even still now, I think some people will downplay the role that arts have in society in terms of, movies and theater and musicals. That's just fluff. That's just what you do whenever you want to escape.
And have fun.
But the reality, yeah. I mean, and there's some escapism to it, yeah. I mean, Marvel movies and some big blockbuster movies, they're not really tapping into maybe, the full range of human emotion and really, trying to make a statement. But for some people, they could even identify with the character, in some sort of, over-the-top CGI film, because we have to remember that anything that's created, TV show, a movie, a book, poetry, a work of art, piece of music, it's created by a real person. And
yes,
that person had some reason to create that storyline, to write those words, to create dialogue between two characters. So there's some basis in reality for every character in a film or TV show, or every character in a fictional, story, in a piece of literature, in a short story. Every piece of art, every piece of music, there's something that is behind that was written for a purpose, for the person who created it. So that's why, we do connect on multiple levels with various types of, performing arts and creative arts.
I think there's depth in all of it. I mean, like, yes. What is the anime? Look at the depth of some of those stories, and some of my most troubled teens and even adults, they really connect to the anime for the power and the intensity of it.
Right, exactly. Why is art therapy and play therapy so significant for children and adolescents? Because that's such a natural way for them to connect with the emotion when they don't know how to say what they need to say, or they don't even know truly what they're feeling and how to express it.
Right.
Art
Yeah.
is art, music. That's a way that those emotions that are buried, or those experiences that they can't quite put words to. That's the way that all of that can be elicited, is through art, music, and tapping into that. And it doesn't have to be, so many times people think, well, art therapy, oh, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't do it. You don't even have to be the one creating the piece of the piece of art or the work. It's about, what music are you drawn to when you're feeling a certain type of way? What type of movies or poetry or artwork do you like to look at when you're like, I feel something, I don't know what it is, but I know I need to listen to this artist or this song, or I want to watch this movie because I know it helps me process what I think I'm feeling, or what I'm not sure I'm feeling. So
Well,
it's not
it goes even
necessarily
deeper
you have
than
to be the creator.
it goes even deeper than that. I think, as far as the music therapy goes, because just listening to music is huge. We've never realized, but then you see all of this, the ancient use of sound therapy and just the tones that balance out the chakras in the body. I had no idea. And now I regularly, every morning, I meditate with sound. Very powerful.
Right. It's for individuals who are very sensitive, very empathic, or even individuals who might be on the spectrum of autism or
Yes.
Asperger's, sound and stimuli in the environment is essential to be aware of, because the type of sounds and the type of music and the amount of overlay, of the layers of sound and layers of different types of noise or music or tones of voice, can create havoc, can create, cognitive dissonance and distress, or
Yes.
it can be very soothing, and it can allow somebody to find their center, and really be aware of what they need in that moment. So there's so much power. There's so much power in music and sound, and then the visual arts, because again, it's all about, everything was created by a person for a reason. And so it's not flip. It's not something that's just meant for, a release. It can be that, but it really can be so much more. And I think having a year and a half where there's no live performances, there's no theaters, there's no live, there's museums are closed. People really realized how important art was, all types of arts are in their lives, and missing out on that, and missing out on the experience really let people know this is important. And just think about how people have used art over the past year in social activism, and how they've expressed not only frustration with, societal issues and, inequities, but also how they express gratitude. The murals that have been painted for, the healthcare workers, or showing support for, different, travesties of justice, being able to do murals and artwork, or write poetry, or paint signs, or create, visual, displays that represented their feelings. Because when you have nothing else, when you feel like you have no other power, you have the power to create. You always have that.
Okay,
and so that's
one moment. Let me play on some of these things, because there's a lot of things that are being brought up. It's really amazing to me that the arts have always had to fight, I believe, in most venues to count in school systems. Certainly, the funding that went for music, for art, and all of that in academia has never matched athletics. That's always been kind of a bone of contention.
right.
And maybe one of the blessings of COVID blessings is not being able to partake in these things helped us to be even more aware of the fact that we need them so much.
Yes.
So much.
Because athletics has their place. Being able to physically excel or physically perform and have a skill, and be part of a team, or even excel individually as part of an individual sport. People who have great physical ability, you want them to have the opportunity to use those skills,
Sure.
and the physicality of expressing, yourself through your skills, and that allows its own emotional release. Being able to be physically active. It's art has always kind of been the flip side, where there's some physicality to it, especially like in theater and those types of performances.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you're able to show a part of yourself or express parts of yourself that don't come across physically, that aren't on the surface. And that's what music and art and those types of performances allow individuals to do. And so,
I think they all touch the different
It's never
part.
been on the same scale.
I think they all touch a different part of the mind, body, the intellect, the spirit, but a little bit more equity. Maybe not equal, but a little bit more equity on the funding would be great. And I think if pandemic didn't make us aware of how much we need some of these other areas like dance and the music and the art and band and orchestra and whatever, then I don't think anything will.
Right. Right. And it's so important it's such a lost opportunity, and we talked about this last time too, with young adults in high school and college who missed out on, theater performances and even athletic, events and music performances and ways that they normally would have engaged and show their skills and show their abilities. So, there's been a lot of loss of, people being able to express themselves. And yet at the same time, at least in those formats, at least in like those formal educational formats where you have music classes or art classes or you have orchestra, or theater performances. But I think what's emerged is like more people who didn't know, maybe some of the talents or some of the connections they could make with art have found those. So where people have lost some opportunities, other people have found new opportunities to engage and to connect with the arts in a way that they never would have before had they not been more isolated or more locked down or, seeing things for the first time, because they're having to find new ways to engage their senses and engage their brains because they're not able to do and socialize and all the things they normally do. So they're listening to music maybe they wouldn't listen to before, learning about artists, learning about, just different types of performances and mediums they're watching online or engaging in that they never would have connected with before because they were on their track. They were on their track and had their, like we all do, we get in our habits and we get our blinders on and we get, we focus on the things that we know of and we're comfortable with. And suddenly all these different things emerge in a world that's on lockdown, and you're seeing things and participating or listening, learning things that you wouldn't have if you had stayed in your same,
same old pattern
lane.
Yeah, we've definitely been pushed out of our lane. So I'll share mine. I want to ask you yours. Whenever I am feeling maybe not low, but lower, or stressed, or sad, or what have you, a lot of the things that I engage in are things like this podcast, but utilizing YouTube, listening to my music on Spotify or iHeart or whatever, or to go and get a big thing of popcorn and a drink and go sit and watch a movie and forget about the world for 2.5 hours. Those are huge. And I, of course, love to sing as well. What about you? What are your areas that kind of help you get off into fun a little bit or escape?
It really depends on like the day and what's going on and like what I need. You know what I mean? Like I know there's certain artists that I need to listen to, or certain things I need to read, or certain things I need to watch. Like if I'm feeling happy, or if I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling reflective, or because sometimes you'll pick a movie and you're like, I know this movie's going to make me cry, but you know what? I just need to cry.
Make ourselves cry. Yes.
Yeah. Or I know this movie's going to lift my spirits, or this song is going to lift my spirits, or this song's going to remind me that I'm not alone, or that I'm a fighter. So
yes.
Different musicians, different artists, and different films, fill different needs for me. And so I think we have to acknowledge that and know that that's okay, you know. And then there's certain times where I'm like, no, I cannot listen to